So I am guessing that it is recording. Yes, it is recording. Wonderful. All right, welcome ladies to tonight's webinar. I'm really happy to have you on here. It's amazing. I mean, I actually love doing webinars because I really like to share my knowledge and give you the best value that I can. I think it would be selfish of me to just keep all my knowledge to myself, and my knowledge just simply comes from learning over the years, just from personal experience. Some of you ladies on here know me, and some of you are my coaching clients already, which is wonderful. I'm really happy to see you on here. But yeah, if you haven't heard my story, let me share that with you. I've been in the health and wellness industry for 20 years now, ever since I came from New Zealand to Australia. And it's, the first 10 years was as a personal trainer in gyms, and I also had my own personal training business. And the last 10 years has been coaching clients. Now, I'm 51 years of age. And at 41 years of age, I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue. Now, back then it wasn't heard of at all. And it really just started one day when I woke up and I really felt like I'd been hit by a bus. And I just thought, wow, that just seems a little bit odd, because I've always slept really well. And it progressively got worse over the coming months, and to the point where I had to have a little bit of a nana nap in the afternoon. And then I got a chest infection that I just couldn't get rid of. And that was really unusual for me, being in the health and wellness industry. I was never sick. I was fit as a fiddle. And it was just, just something that I just didn't ever go to the doctors, apart from the odd pap smear or something like that. So I took myself off to the doctor. And I was like a pincushion, had all these x-rays and blood tests done. Went back a week later, only to be told that, Lynn, you know what? Your test results have come back all normal. You're all good. You just need to take some antibiotics and go home. You're perfectly normal. I remember walking down to the car park, hopping in my car and bursting into tears, because there was no way that I felt normal. No way at all. And so I really did just have a choice. I either accepted what the doctor had told me and stay where I was, or I could move forward. And I decided that I was going to move forward. How? I had no idea. But I did find a doctor that diagnosed me with adrenal fatigue, and I nearly jumped on the floor and kissed his feet, because it was a time where I thought, wow, at last I wasn't going crazy. At that point in time, I thought it was all in my head. And when he diagnosed me with adrenal fatigue, at last I had something to work with. By then I'd put on 10 kgs. And as a personal trainer, I focused on nutrition and exercise to try and budge this weight. And, it was like I'd take 10 steps forward and 20 back, and, the weight would come off, then it would go back on, and it would come off and it would go back on, and then I'd put a little bit more on. So it was very much trial and error, and it actually took 2 years to heal myself. I researched a lot, and I went to different doctors, and I tried different herbal medicines. I tried all sorts. But it wasn't until the video, The Secret, came out that I actually realized that I wasn't dealing with the way I was thinking. So what I was thinking and how I was feeling was very incongruent. And the only way that you can move forward with in any type of success, whether it's business, whether it's weight loss, whether it's anything, is when your thoughts and your feelings are congruent with your actions that you're taking. So I started to change my mindset, and I really started delving into adrenal fatigue, and how my issue, adrenal fatigue was affecting my hormones, and how my hormones were affecting how I was feeling, how my thoughts were affecting how I was feeling, how my lifestyle choices were affecting my hormones as well. So I started putting all the pieces together, and it started to work. And after 2 years, I could honestly say that I was feeling my normal self. And I thought, crikey, if I felt so bad and I was in the health and wellness industry, how did other personal trainers do it? you know, going through menopause, and how did they teach their 40 plus clients? So I put together the Menofitness online course, which a lot of some of you on the call tonight would have done. It was registered in 5 different countries around the world, 7 different fitness organisations, and I educated over 1,200 personal trainers through that course. And since then, over the last 10 years, I've coached a couple of hundred ladies back to overall good health. So that's me in a little bit of a nutshell. So let me just stop the video for now, because as I go through the slides, sometimes it can get a bit dodgy with the video going, and I don't want to interfere with the internet. So some of you may be looking at the slide here and thinking, yeah, you know, there you sit staring at what seems to be your millionth chicken salad with dressing on the side, day after day, chicken salad. You're barely eating enough to keep a bird alive and exercising like a crazy woman, and yet the needle on the scale continues to creep up. You wonder what you're doing wrong. You feel like a stuffed sausage in your jeans, and your muffin top keeps growing. Ew, crikey. You know, who here feels like that sometimes, or has felt like that in the past? You know, yeah, just raise your hand or put in the chat, you know, if you've ever felt like that in the past, because I certainly know I have. I'll raise my hand, absolutely. Yeah, good. So, you know, it's very true, and a lot of, yeah, Di's raised a hand too. So, you know, it's very, very true. And a lot of women are in that position right now, and some have been in that position. But one area that I found was of extreme interest to me was the fact that women turn to their local fitness professionals first for help. And I thought, well, why not? Why not? I mean, it seems, you know, pretty logical. But according to the National Institute of Health, 100% of women who turn 40 put on weight if they do not change their lifestyle habits. And this is one of the biggest challenges of women 40 plus, their weight gain and inability to lose it. I mean, out of all the symptoms one can experience, belly fat and weight gain is at the top of the list, at the very, very top. It's the most bothersome, and many women just don't know how to lose it. They try all these different, you know, exercise regimes, you know, and they even eat really well, but nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens, and they give up. They absolutely give up because they think, well, why should I do it? What the heck am I doing this for? Because nothing's happening. I'm not getting the results. For other women, they believe that in order to burn fat, they have to eat less and exercise more. But guess what happens? This only makes them fatter. They end up getting fatter just through, you know, eating lettuce leaves. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So, oops, how do we just, oh, here we go. All right, so why is belly fat and weight gain the most bothersome? Why is it? Who has a little inkling as to why that might be? If you've got a little, you know, reason why would that be the most bothersome, then, you know, put that in the chat box. I like to be a little bit interactive on my webinars. Has anyone got a little bit of an idea? No? Tight clothes? Yeah. Hey, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely. Women tend to like to have a wardrobe full of clothes that they haven't been able to fit into. You know, so that becomes bothersome. Yeah. Well, you know, one area is that, you know, is we as women are our worst own critics. I mean, I'm sure you would all agree with that. We're our worst own critics. We have a huge fear of aging. We just don't want to get old. And we just don't want to have everything sagging and bagging. We still want to look and feel attractive to our husbands and our partners and have that energy and vitality that we did when we were younger. And there's absolutely no reason why we can't have that. It's all about working with your current hormonal situation and not against it. Another problem for women 40 plus is that you're constantly being bombarded with those one-size-fits-all fat loss programs and promises that do not distinguish between male or female. And they're not even age specific, not at all. They're quick fix gimmicks, and it really do not address that hormonal roller coaster that creates that profound effect on your body after 40 plus. Hands up who has tried, all those diet programs without lasting results. Just give me a little bit of hands up, because I'm sitting here with my hand up too, because when I was trying to lose weight all those 10 years ago, I tried all of them too. Yeah. Absolutely. You're not alone in that. And there's an absolute myriad of information out there, about menopause and fitness. And it can all be really, really disillusioning for you. I know. Trust me, I've researched it all. And for those women like myself who did seek medical advice, you're often told that there's nothing wrong, that you're normal. And yet you walk out of the doctor's office, storing fat, bloated, moody, hungry, massive cravings, tired, not sleeping. But, don't panic. You're normal, all right? Does any of that resonate with you? It certainly did with me. Absolutely. So, it's bizarre. And there's one thing that really, really bothers me, because so many women actually accept all these symptoms is part of aging. And the one reason is why is because they go to the doctor and they're actually told that it's normal. In fact, it's not. Menopause itself is normal. It's a normal transition in life, but menopausal symptoms are not. And if you're not sleeping and you're tired and you have massive cravings, you're hungry, you're moody, you're bloated, you're storing fat, that is an indication that something's out of balance. So it's absolutely not normal. So what is a woman to do about it? Where do you start? I mean, that's a big question. Well, educating yourself is a great place to start. But it's only a place to start. Without applying that knowledge, you stay exactly where you are right now. So this is one reason why I love to impart my knowledge onto other ladies and give the information, because without the education, you don't know which direction to move, but it's really important. Applying the information that you learn is the key. Okay, it's really the key to either wandering through menopause blindly and not knowing what to do when you're faced with those road bumps and those challenges, or navigating your way through menopause with your eyes wide open and able to tackle those challenges when they arrive. So that's the difference between educating yourself and not educating yourself. And you don't know what you don't know. So it's not a case of, it's my fault or anything like that. If you don't know something, then it's just what it is. All right, so tonight what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about the number one reason why women get fat over 40. Hands up who would like to know that. Come on. Yep, come on, raise your hand. Absolutely. Totally agree. So what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight is menopause and what is it, okay? We're going to talk about contributing factors to hormonal imbalance. Okay, and these all go hand in hand, all right? So let's take a look at some, at the end, of course, we're going to have some special bonuses. So for those who want to get those special bonuses, stay right to the end, because I really like giving away things too. So that's really, really exciting for me. But let's talk about some facts for a moment, okay? There was 477 million women suffering from menopause in 2005. Whew, that's a lot. But by the year 2025, which is actually not far away, it's just around the corner, the World Health Organization estimates that 1.1 billion women worldwide will be over the age of 50. All right, will be 50 and over. Research shows that there's 4 million women between 40 and 65 in Australia right now. And in New Zealand, I think there's just over 1 million ladies. And they're from pre to postmenopausal and gaining weight. Why is that? Why is that? Well, we are going to find that out tonight. So we're going to find that out just a little bit later on. But let's talk about what are hormones. Let's go back to basics for a start and learn about hormones and what they are. So basically, I mean, you know, for some of us, our hormones do look like that picture. Actually, I quite, I quite like that picture. You know, yeah, I like the one with the pink, the purple hair. Hormones are basically like substances in our body. Okay, they act like messengers. All right. What they do is they travel throughout our body and they bind to specialized areas of our cells known as receptor sites. Okay, so they bind, our cells have got like little mouths on them, and they bind in there, and from there they initiate a specific chain of events according to what hormone it is. All right. So some people might say, well, why are hormones so important? Well, they ultimately determine the fuel your body uses every day. Now, that was whether that's sugar in the form of blood glucose or fat. They determine where you store your fat or whether you burn your fat. They determine your hunger, your energy, your cravings, how full or satisfied you are, your mood, your motivation, and your motivation for life, your motivation for exercise, and they also determine your overall good health. Okay, so you can obviously see why hormones are really, really, really important. So, I mean, just as another little fact that I want to throw in there, did you know that the average life expectancy of women is approximately 80 years of age? I think it's around about 83 to be precise. This simply means that women spend half their life, if not more, in their menopause years. Imagine that, over half your life in your menopause years. So you can see why it's really, really important to improve your health right now, can't you? So if you don't improve your health right now, and you spend, over half your life in your menopausal years with all those symptoms, you could possibly live the next 30 to 40 years feeling like the seven dwarfs of menopause. Oops, it's not even there. Of menopause. So, and then what are the seven dwarfs of menopause? Are grumpy, itchy, bitchy, grumpy, psycho, sleepy, and what's the other one? Oh, my husband says he's met them all, absolutely met them all, which he probably has at some stage. God love him, absolutely. But let's talk about menopause, shall we? Yeah, oh, here we go. Did you know that a woman's life expectancy is the age of 80? Okay, here we go. Here they go. So sleepy, sweaty, bloaty, forgetful, itchy, bitchy, and psycho. All right, I nearly got them all right. The good news is, ladies, is this can be fixed, okay? You don't have to put up with this. Don't have to put up with this at all. All right, so it's all to do with hormones. And yeah, I could imagine him meeting them all. I was bloaty at one stage too. Sometimes I can be forgetful now. Not sweaty, bitchy, itchy, psycho. I was certainly psycho. I remember my kids saying, I was the psycho lady from hell one part of time. And I do like my sleep, but I'm not as sleepy as I used to be when I used to have my nana nap. But as I said, the good news is it can be fixed, all right? So let's talk about menopause, shall we? What is it and when does it occur? When does it occur? So postmenopause, menopause is a term that refers to the end of menstruation, okay? It's a result of natural decline in your hormones, estrogen and progesterone produced in the ovaries. After years of preparing and releasing eggs, the ovaries eventually, what they do is they reach a point where their monthly routine basically ceases. All right. So a woman's cycle can become irregular during the years building up to menopause. And as a rule of thumb, once a woman has gone through, has not really had a period for 12 months consecutively in a row, then she's probably finished, finished and is in her menopause years. And that can be backdated. So once you've finished your period and you haven't had it for 12 months consecutively, that can be backdated to your very, very backdated 12 months. And you can say 12 months prior to that is when you started your menopausal years, okay? Menopause signals the end of fertility and the beginning of a new and potentially rewarding time in a woman's life. It's not all doom and gloom. It's not all itchy, bitchy, psycho, sleepy, and all the 7 dwarfs of menopause. It's not all about that. And yet, there is a stigma surrounding menopause and its association with aging, really. But in fact, we don't actually age any more rapidly in our 50s than we do in any other decade of our life. And that's providing our hormones are balanced. And of course, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But we really don't age any faster in any other decade of our life. So premature menopause, so postmenopause is around the age of 51. Premature menopause is between the ages of, before 45. Now, 1 in 100 a woman will experience menopause before age 40. And this is, as I just mentioned, referred to as premature menopause. And it can be artificially induced by radiation, chemotherapy, surgery, a really stressful time or trauma in someone's life. And it can also be induced by unhealthy lifestyle habits as well. So we also have a premature ovarian failure. Okay. Now, not many people talk about this. This one. It's something that I learned about a long, long time ago. But it's also known as primary ovarian insufficiency. It's a loss of normal function of your ovaries before age 40. So basically, your ovaries just fail, just stop, okay, through no other reason, but they just cease to work. And what happens if your ovaries fail? They don't produce normal amounts of hormones, estrogen, or release eggs regularly. So what happens is, infertility is a common result. Now, premature ovarian failure is sometimes referred to as premature menopause, but the two conditions are not the same, okay? They aren't the same. Women with premature ovarian failure have irregular or occasional periods for years and might even become pregnant, all right? Women with premature menopause stop having periods and can't become pregnant at all. All right, so that's the difference. So there's a very distinct difference, even though some people get that refer to them as the same. Now, when the years building up, about the 7 to 10 years prior to menopause is what we call our perimenopausal years. Okay, and this is the years prior to going through menopause. It usually starts around about 40 years of age. Sometimes, though, I have now encountered a lot of women at the age of 35, and even some of my clients now and past clients have been around about 21 years of age. And this is when the hormones estrogen and progesterone begin to fluctuate, okay? And many symptoms start to rear their ugly heads. And this is, when the 7 dwarfs start to, jump up and down. So, when it comes to peri and postmenopausal symptoms, a whopping 80% of women suffer from menopause, and there's the 20% that just breeze through it. I have a wonderful friend who's 57 years of age, and she's still running marathons. God love her soul, and she's really like a machine. But, she just breezed through it. It was like, menopause? What menopause? So she was one of the 20% that just breezed through it. Now, 20% suffer from absolute severe symptoms and 60% from mild symptoms. But as you can see, it's a whopping 80% of women that do suffer from symptoms of menopause, whether it's mild to severe. Okay, so it's really important to understand why this is. So let me bring you to my next slide, which is the contributing factors to hormone imbalance. And basically, we're talking about lifestyle choices here. And I did a video not long ago about hormone balance is a choice. And if any of you haven't seen that, you can hunt through my little video library and take a look at that. But oops, I think we're missing one there. Oh yes, here we go. So when we're talking about lifestyle choices and contributing factors to hormone imbalance, you can see here there's an array of things that contribute to hormone imbalance. Environmental toxins are one big one. Now, we don't get to 40 or 50 years of age without being subjected to environmental toxins. Now, they can be indirect or direct toxins. Things like that we put in our body, our moisturizers, even our lipsticks, our makeup, our shampoo, the colors that we put in our hair, the fingernail polish, all those things can cause toxins in our bodies. Not only that, indirectly we are subjected to pollutants in the air, especially carbon monoxide from cars and things like that. So we ingest those on a daily basis, whether we like those ones or not. And all these toxins, are absorbed into our body, and they mimic our other hormones. They're called xenoestrogens, and they mimic, in particular, our estrogen. So our bodies can become very, very toxic. What happens is these xenoestrogens actually fill up our receptor sites, so our estrogen receptor sites. Okay, so remember I said we have cells and receptor sites, and our hormones float through our body and attach ourselves. Well, these xenoestrogens, the toxic forms of estrogens, attach themselves to these the receptor sites on the cells, and it fills up the space. So our own estrogens cannot go anywhere. So they float around in our body, and what happens is we become very, very estrogen dominant. And in some cases, this can be a contributing factor to breast cancer and things like that. So it's really, really important to limit our exposure to environmental toxins. Not only that, it causes a big, huge stress in our body. When our bodies are very, very toxic, we become very inflamed. And this is when we start to get sore joints, we get gut problems, and we get skin disorders and stuff like that. So it causes a lot of stress. And you'll notice on here contributing factors, the big underlying contributing factors is stress. All right. So even gut issues, when we're under a lot of stress, constipation, things like that, through not enough fiber, through unhealthy diets, all contribute to high estrogens and the toxic estrogens in that. Stress can cause gut issues, and our good bacteria in our gut is compromised, and we end up with a lot of gut issues. We can end up with leaky gut and irritable bowel and things like that. Nutritional deficiencies also cause stress. When we don't eat enough nutrition, it causes, good whole foods, it causes a lot of stress in our body. When we're eating a lot of dairy and sugar and processed foods, it can cause they're highly inflammatory, and it causes a lot of stress within our body. When we get to 40 or 50 years old, our livers and our liver can become quite sluggish. Through years of filtering lots of toxins and different things through our liver, it gets like blocked. Okay, so think of it like a filter on a car, or oil filter, and we have to change our oil filter all the time, don't we, on a regular basis, because it becomes all cloggy and blocked, and it just doesn't work very well. Well, that's the same as our liver, and that can happen through alcohol, over-the-counter prescriptions, through toxins in our body, and it just becomes very, very sluggish. Now, we have two pathways in which our body flushes out our excess hormones, and one of them is through our liver. So if our liver is not working sufficiently, then all these toxins aren't eliminated from our body. All these excess hormones and toxins aren't eliminated through our body. So what happens is they get reabsorbed into our body. Now, one thing that I'd like to talk about is exercise. And I'll address that a little bit later on. But exercise is a wonderful thing. Like if we're moving, I love any form of exercise. I love to hear that people are moving, and I don't care what exercise they're doing, but you know, they're moving. So I think that's wonderful. But too much exercise is a huge stress in our body. Exercise, full stop, is a stress. End of story. It's a stress. We stress our bodies when we exercise, and that can be a good stress or it could be bad stress, depending on the intensity and the duration of the exercise. Now, when we over exercising, it causes high cortisol, it causes adrenal dysfunction, which causes thyroid dysfunction, which causes estrogen and progesterone deficiencies or imbalances, and it causes high insulin. It can be the cause of insulin resistance and diabetes. So, you know, it's such a roller coaster effect. It's such a dominoes effect that it has, you know, one thing just affects the other. So when it comes to stress just on its own, emotional stress, you know, we've got high cortisol. It causes high cortisol, low progesterone, high insulin, estrogen dominance, dysfunctional thyroid. It also causes anovulatory cycles. So, you know, you see athletes that are exercising quite a lot. They sometimes don't get their period because, you know, it causes stress within their body. And when an ovulatory cycle is something that you do get a period, but you're not actually producing an egg, and that can be through stress. It causes digestive issues, it causes belly fat, premature aging, disease, heart attacks, diabetes, adrenal dysfunction, and the list can go on. So you can see that stress is a big killer. Not only that, if we look just up a little bit further, we've got our mindset. Now, this is one of the biggest overlooked area in anyone's life. The way we think and the way we talk to ourselves on a daily basis can be very stressful. Our limiting beliefs, what we listen to on TV, what we read in magazines, it can be all very, very stressful. When we look in the mirror and what we tell ourselves when we look in the mirror, it can cause a lot of stress. Just by us jumping on some scales and looking at what the scales are, you know, the number that's peering back at us on the scales, and how we perceive that and talk to ourselves can be extremely, extremely stressful. So you can see, ladies, that, you know, what it boils down to is our lifestyle choices. So this is one contributing factor that is within our control that we can change. Okay, this is what we can change. And this is really, really important for you to recognize, because as I said, you know, we're going to be talking about the number one reason why women get fat over 40. Now, some things we are in control of, some things we aren't in control of. This is what we are in control of, our lifestyle choices. All right. So, you know, and this is just a tip of the iceberg. So this is just basically overall picture of what our lifestyle choices can be doing to our body. So who would like to talk about the number one reason why women get fat over 40? Does anyone have an idea? Talk to me. Tell me what you're thinking. I mean, you know, let's face it, life can be really, really unfair sometimes, you know, especially if you're a woman over 40 who is trying to desperately, you know, get rid of that unwanted fat. Would you agree? Absolutely. You know, not only does that unwanted fat pile up in the wrong areas, you know, the wrong places, like your belly, your hips, your waist, your butt and your thighs, you know, but it gets stuck, you know, almost becoming impossible to get rid of. You know, so no matter how little you eat or how much you exercise, you know, sometimes it just does not make that ounce of difference, you know. I mean, who would agree with that? Yeah, Samantha, too many diets. Yeah, can affect our metabolism. Absolutely, it can do a lot of metabolic damage, too much diets. But so who wants to know what the number one reason is? Yeah. Hands are going up now. And you know what? The funny part is, ladies, is because, you know, we're all looking for that, well, not that magic pill, but that reason, you know, that reason that we're clinging on to, that, that says to us, you know, that this is the reason why I'm putting on weight. Oh, you know, thank goodness it's not my fault. Well, you know, no, it's not your fault, but some of it is. You know, we just discussed the lifestyle choices. You know, those are what are within your control. But the reason why we do get fat over 40 is simply because of aging. Okay, aging actually is the reason why, number one reason why women get fat over 40. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, was that it? Well, that was a little, you know, a sort of a unreasonable reason, you know. It's not. Okay, so let me explain to you, and you'll find out how this all marries in together. And this is something that I had to learn for myself many years ago, and it will all make sense when I do explain this. Okay, so what I want to show you is the cyclic changes that happen throughout our life. All right, so let me just explain our normal cycle, and you'll just get the picture. It's really quite fascinating, okay? So let me explain. Day 1 to day 28. Our normal cycle is 28 days, you know, give or take a few days, all right? So what happens is day 1, our estrogen starts to arise. So that's our follicular phase. Day 14 is when we ovulate. This is just an absolute normal premenopause, you know, in our 20s and 30s. This is a cycle. In our follicular phase, estrogen is dominant. Progesterone is not. All right. What estrogen does is the role of estrogen is to build up the lining of the uterus in preparation for a potential pregnancy. So progesterone's role is to change the character of the uterine lining to prepare for pregnancy, okay? So it prevents further buildup of the lining of estrogen. So estrogen builds it up, progesterone stops the buildup, okay, and allows the pregnancy to happen. Now, women are born with a finite number of eggs that eventually run out. Okay, so at birth, a woman has close to 1 million eggs. So when a little baby girl is born, would you believe she has close to 1 million eggs? By puberty, they have a mere 300,000. And in the 10 to 15 years prior to menopause, the loss begins to accelerate. Okay, to the point where we no longer ovulate, and that's called menopause. Okay, but let's just go back a little step here to premenopause. So what happens in day 14, we ovulate, and in the luteal phase, which is the 14 to day 28, is when the corpus luteum releases an egg. So at day 14, we ovulate, and there's the egg sac is called the corpus luteum. From the corpus luteum, it bursts open and an egg is released. So from that corpus luteum, the bulk of our progesterone is produced. So as you can see, in day 14 to day 28, the red line, which is progesterone, it increases. And this is where it stops the buildup of the lining of the uterus, and the corpus luteum is just pumping out lots of progesterone. Okay, so it balances out estrogen. If there's no pregnancy, then at day 28, they both drop away and we get a period. All right, so that is a normal premenopause cycle. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at perimenopause. Now, this is the 7 to 10 years building up, you know, prior to menopause, so around 40 years of age. This is what we call, we tend to be a more estrogen dominant cycle. So what happens is, day 1, again, estrogen builds up, progesterone isn't built, you know, doesn't come into play until day 14. But what happens is, as we remember, I just said that as we get to the 10 to 15 years prior to menopause, the loss of our eggs begin to accelerate. Okay, so what happens is day 14 is that we don't ovulate at every period because we're not producing an egg. Now, remember when I said when we ovulate at day 14, the corpus luteum breaks open, bursts open, and releases an egg. And then the bulk amount of progesterone is released from that corpus luteum. If we are not producing an egg, then we do not get that bulk amount of progesterone produced. Okay, so what happens is the only amount of progesterone that is produced is from our adrenal glands. So as you can see, day 14 to day 28, there's very little progesterone produced, which means we become very estrogen dominant, and there's a big deficit between progesterone and estrogen. And this is where the seven dwarfs come in, and we start feeling all these symptoms of menopause. We start, getting moody. We start, cellulite starts to come into play, where, our belly fat starts to happen, and, all the symptoms that we're feeling is because of this deficit here. So perimenopause is really characterized by falling progesterone and fluctuating estrogen, okay? And the estrogen can fluctuate, sometimes low, sometimes high. So this time of a woman's life is quite a volatile time. And the trick here is to manage your physiology, okay, by paying close attention to not overstressing the metabolism. All right, so this is really, really important. So this is perimenopause. So that's the build-up. Now, as we age, what happens is in our menopause and postmenopausal years, what happens is exactly this. We practically flatline, okay? So day one, the same, estrogen starts to be produced in small amounts, okay? At menopause, estrogen levels drop off at approximately about 40 to 60% of its perimenopausal levels. And progesterone can actually fall close to zero. All right. At this point, estrogen falls along with progesterone. Eventually, estrogen levels decrease to the point that the lining of the uterus no longer builds up and menstruation ceases. And this is called menopause. Okay, so when estrogen falls at this stage, the body is less able to handle carbohydrates. Okay, even small amounts can spike insulin and throw the metabolism into turmoil. So this is the reason why we start to put on weight, simply because of aging. Our ovulation, our egg production slows down, so estrogen and progesterone slow down as well. Now, around this time, menopausal time, estrogen and progesterone levels will remain suppressed, okay? However, the ovaries often go on producing testosterone, and what happens is this causes a relative increase in testosterone compared to the years earlier. So what happens is testosterone may increase, and with estrogen and progesterone almost flatlining and testosterone still dominant, then we get what a spread of fat, and often in the middle. So this is what we call the middle age spread. But not only that, because we're testosterone dominant, we tend to get the little hairs on our chin sprouting and things like that. Now, at this point in time, when we get our test results back and we're testosterone dominant, we use testosterone to our advantage by doing some strength training. Okay, so if we're testosterone dominant, we can really use that to our advantage. So that's really, really important to understand. So this is the number one reason, and most people even go through their entire life not understanding their cycles. not understanding one little thing about their cycles and how it works and why they're actually putting on weight. So this is why I say education is really, really important. But then, of course, applying it is the key. But first, understanding how your own body works is vitally, vitally important. So the good news is it can be fixed. And for my coaching clients that are coaching with me now, they're good examples of that. It can be fixed. It doesn't have to stay like that. You don't have to accept all that as part of aging. You know, at 40 plus, women need a different fat loss approach, okay? They need a hormones first approach. So this is the approach that I like to take, and it's really important to understand your current hormonal situation first. As you can see, it's important to understand where your estrogen is. It's important to understand where your progesterone is and your testosterone and other hormones, okay? So what can a woman do about it, all right? The first thing is change the way you think. Change the way you think. If nothing changes, then nothing changes. As Tony Robbins says, 80% of success is mindset. Only 20% is mechanics, a strategy. All right, so it's really, really important. You know, as it stands now, there's so much negativity around menopause. In fact, it has been a very taboo subject for a long, long time. There are so many jokes and sarcasm out there, you know, about menopause, and the media actually promotes heavily anti-aging, wrinkle-free things, you know, is better. So no wonder women have a real fear around aging and the way they think about aging. Right. One thing is clear. One thing that is clear is menopause is not better or worse than any other phase in your life. It's just different. It's just different. Our purpose is different. Our role in society is different. But by being clear about the role and embracing it, we can get we can find a deeper acceptance and therefore more joy in our hearts, you know, and about making the decision to change. And a big part of that is changing your mindset. A big, huge part. The way you think on a daily basis, negatively or positively, affects your hormones and ultimately the results that you want to achieve. So it's really important to see menopause as an opportunity, not as a hindrance, okay? What I see is too many women and too many PTs focus on nutrition and exercise and forget about the most important aspect, the mind. One of the things that makes us different here at Menofitness is we like to focus on the mindset, reframing limiting beliefs, realigning incongruent values, overcoming fears and doubts, and eliminating self-sabotage and toxic behaviors. Because at the end of the day, if you do not change the way you think, no matter how well you exercise, how well you eat, and if you lose weight, if you don't change the way you think, it's going to be really easy to fall back into that position that you were or fall off the bandwagon, so to speak, and start putting on weight again. And that's how women yo-yo diet, okay? So your personal transformation begins with making the choice to change your mindset and change your vision for your life. After that, you know, healthier choices in other areas can be addressed. For example, you know, restoring your hormones, okay, knowing your current hormonal situation. So your mindset, your psychology is the 80%. What we're going to talk about now is the 20%, and part of that is restoring your hormones. You know, it's really, really important to know your current hormonal situation. We go to the doctors to have our mammograms. We go to the doctors to have our pap smear. We go to the doctors to find out about, you know, our blood pressure and all sorts of other things. But not many go and find out what your current hormonal situation is. You know, menopausal symptoms are not normal, and if you're experiencing these, then it's your body giving you signals that your hormonal communication system is damaged and it's just not functioning optimally. So I have some women say, Lynn, don't your hormones fluctuate all the time? And my answer to that is yes, of course they do. Hormones fluctuate on a second-to-second basis, on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis. They fluctuate all the time, according to outside stimuli, different foods that you eat. They change all the time. But what I say to that is if you're estrogen dominant, or if you have no estrogen at all, it's not going to suddenly change overnight. It's not going to suddenly, for someone that's got no estrogen, suddenly they're not going to change overnight or within a week or in 1 month, they're going to suddenly restore their hormone balance. It's not going to happen. So it's really, really important to know your current hormonal situation, because it gives you a snapshot of where you are and what you can do about it. Understanding your current hormonal situation can optimize your health right now, and it actually can help prevent age-related diseases and issues into the future. And as I mentioned earlier, hormones determine everything. So it's important to know your current hormonal situation for the reasons that I have just mentioned. So let's take a look at some lab reports. I've obviously removed the names on this, but this was one of my 21-year-old clients. Now, she had no estrogen and wondered why, and she was testosterone dominant, as you can see. And when you're testosterone dominant, you have a lot of skin issues, in particular lots of pimples and things like that. So she had a lot of skin issues, and a doctor put her on a contraceptive to try and balance out her hormones. But in fact, the contraceptive only made her put on weight quite a bit. So is understanding her hormonal situation important? Of course it is. Absolutely it is. Here's a 31-year-old with almost the same type of hormone profile, being testosterone dominant. Now, this is a profile of a 51-year-old lady that's going through menopause. So is it important for this 21 and 31-year-old to know why, why hormones like this, and to optimize them now so that when she gets to 51 years of age that she's not going to have problems? Absolutely it is, by all means. Here's a 47-year-old lady. Now, her estrogen was through the roof. Look at it, 50. And the range was between 7.5 and 11. And hers was 50. Her testosterone was like skyrocketing at 880. Is this important to know? Absolutely, because let me tell you the little story about this lady, and I say this because not to scare you or anything like that, but just to reiterate the fact that it is important. She came to me, this lady, and I said, these are really abnormal readings, and I referred her on to a specialist. And I touched base with her. Now, this was back in 2013, as you can see the date on there. And I actually touched base with her about 4 or 5 months ago. It was this year. And I just touched base to see how she was going. And she was actually going through treatment for breast cancer. Okay, so she was going through chemotherapy. And it was estrogen-related breast cancer. So, did she go to the specialist and do anything about it? No, unfortunately, she didn't. And as a result, she was suffering from estrogen-related breast cancer. So, is it important to know your hormonal situation? Absolutely. And I share that just to reiterate the fact that, it is important to know that one. 50-year-old lady, once again, estrogen dominant, all right, testosterone low, but very much estrogen dominant, all right, outside the reference range. Here's another one, 52, low estrogen, cortisol low as well. All right, so yeah, important to have your hormones tested. So let's take a look at nutrition, all right, and this is really, 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 really important, and my coaching clients will be putting their hand up there. This is really important. And once again, I have to mention psychology, okay, because psychology towards food it is a biggie. We get a lot of emotional eating, and that if we don't address emotional eating, then it's not just going to go away. It's not something that you can just brush under the carpet and think, well, you know what, I'll just forget about that. And I'm eating really well now, and I'm losing lots of weight. It's really good, but I'll just brush that little emotional eating under the carpet and forget about it. I'll deal with that later. It doesn't work like that because it does rear its little ugly head without understanding where that emotional eating is coming from. It's not just a simple case of brushing it under the carpet. You have to change the way you think about food. Food is just not something that you throw in your mouth to fill you up. Food is actually information to your cells. Particular foods can tell your body whether to store fat or burn fat. The right foods also signal to your brain that you're full. One study that I read not long ago actually found that higher protein breakfast, unlike higher carbohydrate breakfast, reduces your hunger hormones, ghrelin, and increases your leptin hormone, which is the hormone that tells your brain that you're full. Not only that, if you remember back, your current hormonal situation plays a huge role in what you must eat. Okay, estrogen. So let me explain that. And I mentioned it a little bit earlier. Estrogen actually helps the female metabolism be more insulin sensitive. Okay, so it helps your body more. It better helps us to handle starch and sugar. All right. So when this hormone declines, the female metabolism is exposed. Okay, it's just exposed, like left wide open, and far less able to manage the insults from excess carbohydrate intake. So depending on how much estrogen you have working for you will dictate the food choices that you can tolerate and the amounts and timing. All right. So another thing is many women 40 plus have grown up in the era where magazines, TV, and other media, the sources of media types, enforced low-fat diets are best. Okay, I've got my hand up, okay, because I'm one of those. For a long time there, I didn't eat lots of fats. Didn't eat lots of fats because I grew up in that area believing that fats was bad for you. And these messages have actually been ingrained into so many women's brains that they're actually afraid to eat fat. Okay, they're really afraid to eat fat. They think it causes disease. They think it makes them fat and unhealthy. Evelyn's just raised her hand. and how do you feel about fats these days, Evelyn? I bet you that's changed. So it's been ingrained in their brain that that it's not good to eat fat, that it causes disease, it makes them fat, and is unhealthy. They think that they're protecting their health when in fact they're doing the complete opposite. All right. So when it comes to fat, our essential fatty acids are very, very important because they're our building blocks to all our other hormones. So when we are deficient in good fats, then our body is not able to produce hormones at the level that they're supposed to. But not only that, did you know that your brain is your fattest organ of your body? Okay, so we all walk around with fat heads. Okay, our brain consists of at least 60% fat, and it depends on adequate essential fatty acids to perform optimally. And this is crucial, absolutely crucial, as we age and our memory starts to fade. Right? So good fats, as I mentioned, good fats are our building blocks to all our other hormones. And so it's really, really important that we have a well-balanced diet of nutrient-rich whole foods. And it's just essential in order to feel better, feel happier, feel alert, and achieve that overall good health. Okay, so let's talk about exercise and reactivating our hormones. What we have to do is enhance your fat burning hormones when it comes to exercise. So when you want to burn fat, it's as simple as working out longer and harder, right? Who would agree with that? Anyone? Yeah, 2 people. Okay. Well, actually, it's quite wrong. Okay. So when we want to burn fat, it's not as simple about working out harder and longer. Okay. The longer you exercise, the more the more your body actually is under stress. Okay, and the more you'll flood your body with those powerful stress hormones, cortisol. Okay, so the longer and harder you work out, the more you put your body under stress, the more you produce cortisol, and cortisol, when in produced huge amounts over a long period of time, is very catabolic and very breaking down. So catabolic means breaking down. Cortisol causes you to lose muscle from your upper body and store fat, especially around your midsection and lower trunk. Okay, Di's raised a hand. So that turns women, okay, this turns women into the pear shape. Okay, and it makes men look like that swollen apple. Okay, it gives them that swollen apple look. Okay, so what's so interesting is that these days the right type of metabolic training can actually harness cortisol and become, so that it becomes a very, very powerful fat burner for you and muscle toner. Okay, so cortisol is not a bad hormone. It's actually what I like to call a double-edged sword. So in high amounts, it can be very detrimental to your health, but in the right amounts, it can actually help you burn fat. Okay, so instead of it being your enemy, it actually can become your fat burning friend. And let me just explain how. All right, both estrogen and progesterone together block the actions of cortisol. When these hormones decline, the female metabolism is once again exposed and far less able to manage those insults from being exposed to too much stress. So we become very stress reactive. Okay, so this means exercising too much, the wrong type of exercise, will now affect your stress hormones, cortisol, in a very negative way. Therefore, it means doing the right amount of exercise to enhance your hormones, in particular cortisol, to get the results that you want, and no more. All right, so that's what it's about, just doing the right amount of exercise to enhance your hormones, in particular cortisol, to get the right results that you want, and not doing any more. Too many women out there are just flogging themselves in the gym like crazy women, just absolutely flogging themselves. And what happens is they end up getting fatter just on lettuce leaves. It really, really has to stop. And what happens is they end up running themselves ragged, because not only that, they're such busy ladies in the rest of their life, with their careers, with their family and everything else. And then they're flogging themselves in the gym. They're just really stressed out to the max, and they end up burning out, and they just are exhausted at the end of the day, let alone at the end of the week. Absolutely, Di. So it really, really has to stop. Okay, so what's really important is allowing your hormones to recover. Allowing your hormones to recover. So take control of your lifestyle choices, and in particular your recovery lifestyle activities. So, when I say take control of your lifestyle choices, especially stress. Okay, stress can make you feel fat and keep you fat. Okay, end of story. And stress just breeds disease. It really, really does. This is where I see a lot of women struggle. Okay, it's the shift from giving to receiving that is often tough for women. Okay, because we're so much givers You know, we as women are wired to just give, to give our time, give our energy, give everything that we have to other people. But the problem is that we don't give to ourselves. And what happens is we are just run ragged and we're exhausted at the end of the week, as I mentioned. Receiving makes us feel guilty. Okay, a lot of us feel guilty if someone gives us something or helps us out. We feel guilty. But let me give you permission right here and now. Okay, I want to give you permission right now. You are allowed to receive. You are allowed to receive. It's because it's only when our own bucket is full can we give in fullness to others. So when we start to look after ourselves, we can then look after others. And, it's like the common metaphor of the oxygen mask in an aeroplane. Do they ever say, put it on someone else first? No, they don't. The first thing they say is put it on yourself first, then help others. That way everyone is served. So they never say to you, put the oxygen mask on your children first and then yourself. Never. So relaxation, lifestyle activities are really, really important for your own health, just relaxing those hormones. Find something that relaxes you, Tai Chi, yoga, meditation, deep breathing, massage, leisurely walking, and do it often. I mean, it can be travel. Think of when the most time that you were most relaxed. And try and do that on a very, very regular basis, okay? Tell me, type in the chat box, when is time when you feel most relaxed? It could have been, like I said, on holiday. It could be in that massage. It could be, sitting at the beach. It could be, when is it you felt most relaxed, that you just, Samantha says, on holiday, that you just don't do very often. It's those ones that you go, oh yes, I remember, it was that time. These are those things that exactly Anne-Marie says, walking outside in the fresh air, Evelyn on holiday. It's these things that we need to focus on a little bit more. And when we say on holiday, it doesn't mean you have to be a big OE overseas trip. It can be, just down the coast, or it can be to somewhere else, quite local. Absolutely. And these are the things that we need to focus on more. If it's yoga, if it's meditation, massage, I mean, I love a massage. So yeah, focusing on those more. So allow your hormones to recover. All right. So what I'd like to give to you today, for those ladies, the ladies that are on my coaching program, obviously you ladies have already received free gifts from me, but for those who aren't on my coaching program, I'd like to offer you 2 free hormone enhancement coaching sessions to assist you in your own hormone health right now. So find out where you're at and where you can go. So private message me, send me a message, get in touch with me. I'd love to honor you with and give you value through 2 hormone enhancing coaching sessions. What I'd also like to offer is a one-time special offer just for tonight only, for those ladies that want to know more. It's my hormone enhancement coaching program. So it's your very own menopause coach and fitness expert. I am just about to bring on another coach to help me out because my business is expanding so much. But you get personal attention and personal results. And the ladies on in my coaching program can certainly vouch for that. You know, you get monthly personalized meal plans for every meal, every day. You get, it's tweaked all the time. It's to suit yourself and your hormonal. Yes, we got some hands raised there. Thank you very much. A question, Samantha, I will answer that shortly. But, you know, even the fitness programs are matched to your hormones, and if that means relaxing or just walking, so be it. You know, what we do is we are looking for results. I want to give you the best value. My wish for everyone that comes on board for me as a coaching client is to get the results that they want, and so that they can master the techniques in order for them to take that through the rest of their life, so that they can move on from me, not have to coach from me. I don't want my coaching clients to have to coach with me, you know, stay with me for a long time. I want them to succeed so that they can learn these techniques, these strategies, so they can go forth and do it themselves and live a very happy, joyful, prosperous life. So we have accountability sessions every week for the first 4 weeks, and then, you know, every 2 weeks after that. And this can be from phone or from Skype, whatever is suitable for you, to keep you on track, keep you accountable and motivated. And, you know, we design that specifically for you. You can also become an athlete of the mind through our menopause mindset program. It aligns values. It stops your self-sabotage, overcome fears, doubts, limiting beliefs, and all those kind of things. So, you know, it's very interactive. We have a wonderful group of ladies that are just supportive, and you know, oh, I just love them to pieces. They're just delightful. You know, you get lots of tools and educational things. You know, you can join our VIP Menofitness Women's group, which is absolutely wonderful. There's a whole lot of educational videos, journal to track your progress, fitness tracking app, you know, so that we can measure and monitor. One of my favorite sayings is, if we don't measure, we can't manage, which is so very, very true, because we do reach plateaus. We do get to a certain time where we really have to adjust and really look at it. So it's important. You know, you have ongoing Facebook support, motivation, accountability, and all that sort of thing. And we also have saliva hormone profiling test kit. So I post that out to you, and that alone is valued over $300 just for the hormone profiling test kit. So we get to know your hormonal, your current hormonal situation. Normally the 3 month, this is here is just for 3 months. Normally it's $69 per week, but I'm shaving the price tonight for just first 2 people to private message me for $59 a week. So if you're not a coaching client, then and you want to learn more how you can do this, then private message me and I'll get in touch with you. Now, Sam wants to know, what if you have a marina? And that's fine, Sam. Look, you know, if you have a marina, that's absolutely fine. When we do the saliva hormone testing, what we do is you just need to write that on the form, and we take that into account when we're looking at your current hormonal situation, when your lab results come back and we're evaluating your current hormonal situation. So let me just stop that. I'll put the video on so that you can see me, ladies. So yeah, that's it for tonight. I really do hope that you've all enjoyed that and you have learned something tonight. I think it's really, really important that you do learn that your current hormonal, how your body works, just how your body works, the female body works. You know, I remember I had a lady at a networking group ask me what I did, and I said, oh, you know, I'm a menopause and fitness coach. And she said, oh, that's wonderful. I said, yeah, it is. I really love it. She says, what's menopause? So, you know, I thought, wow, not many women, you know, there are women out there that actually don't know what happens to their bodies as they age. And for me, that was like, wow, that was awesome feedback when she said that, because it really enlightened me to the fact that education was important, and that it's really important to understand these steps that we go through as we do age. So thank you for joining me tonight. Thanks, Sam. I hope you got some value out of this tonight. I will be recording this, so I will send you out a link so that you can watch it again if you want. But yeah, thanks very much. Have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to talking with you soon. So bye for now. Bye. Thank you. Thanks.